From Synozur, this is Polaris. I'm Chris McNulty. In 2025, marketing is more than just announcing your products and sending emails. Connecting your business with your markets requires a new set of skills, from re-engineering user experience, understanding psychology, and engaging across the economic spectrum. Today, we'll look at all of this and more with our guest, Ginny DeLaitre of VDS Digital Agency. This is Polaris. Welcome to Polaris Pathways. I'm your host, Chris McNulty, Chief Technology Officer at Synozur. Synozur, the transformation company, reimagines business for our clients, navigating strategies and leadership culture with ease. Today, I'm happy to introduce Ginny DeLaitre, founder and CEO of VDS Digital Agency. Ginny has a diverse background in iOS development, interior design, and marketing. Her clients span a range across various industries, including military real estate, healthcare, and technology. She'll join us in a few minutes. But first, let's define our terms and our data points. And as always, our references will be listed in the show notes. User experience marketing has become increasingly important as businesses focus on creating seamless and engaging experiences for their customers. According to a report by Forrester, companies that prioritize UX see a 400% increase in conversion rates. Luxury brands are shifting their focus to digital marketing strategies that emphasize user experience and storytelling. A recent study by McKinsey highlights that 80% of luxury sales are influenced by digital touchpoints. And at those points, understanding customer personae is crucial for effective marketing. HubSpot found that businesses which use persona mapping see a 73% higher conversion rate. Okay, I've talked long enough. We have Ginny waiting in our virtual green room. Let's go. Welcome back. So today, I'm excited to introduce our guest, Ginny DeLaitre, founder and CEO of VDS Digital Agency. Ginny, welcome to Polaris.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Can you talk to the audience a little bit about your background and your journey to become CEO of your own agency?
I started about 12 years ago as an iOS developer. I was doing my own mobile apps. So I was both developing and designing the app, a lot of UX, even if it wasn't really called UX at the time. And then I was an interior designer for a little while, really focusing on design. After being a developer, I was just like, I'm tired of developing. So I really went full design. And when I arrived in the United States, I wanted to create my own business. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to take everything I have and build something. So I created VDS Digital Agency. And at first, it was actually Virginie Design Services. So it was more design. And slowly, I moved toward marketing. And I sort of integrated marketing services, and now I'm full marketing services. So it was just a progression.
I spent a lot of time in product development, and there's a strong design component to building products. During my tenure in marketing, there isn't as much attention paid on designs. I also don't meet a lot of marketing leaders with an iOS background. Do you still use any of that in your day-to-day?
Actually, it is funny because I use it more now that I'm working, building my AI agent and building my AI tools that I have ever been before. So being an iOS developer learned you a lot of things. First, it learned you to be mobile first. And I think actually as a marketer nowadays, it makes a lot of sense because you have this little screen and you have to put everything on the little screen. So how do you sort of compact the information? So I use this. And also now that we are playing a lot with AI, there is some development part included to that. Because when I hear no code, it's never sort of no code. There is still a little bit of code. So having a strong background, being a developer and knowing really how an app is working is actually very, very useful to develop these AI tools.
On your journey, you moved to the US and you set up a company here. What's it like coming from overseas to set up a company in the US?
It was hard. So I had a company in France that I closed, and then I moved here. The business wasn't like transferable. So when I opened my own business in the United States, honestly, I didn't really know what I was doing. I had an idea. I wanted to do design, but it was hard first to find clients because the US is very big, but that means also there are people everywhere working on a lot of stuff. So building your clientele and finding the right people you can trust and build with was the first challenge. And also there was some cultural challenge too, to understand really, to align what I was offering to the actual US market, because Europe and US is not exactly the same market. So people don't have the same expectation. So it was a very like a learning experience to build my own business here.
One of the things I've learned from running operations in the EU is that it's not really 30 countries, but it's like 5 or 6 different zones, and each has its own quirks.
Yes.
Do you find any of that here in the United States? That do you feel like the United States is one big country, or do you see any regional distinctions here?
No, I feel a lot of regional distinction actually. So I live on the East Coast. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, and I feel a lot of connections like with Boston. I feel a lot of connection with Philadelphia, like even with Florida, all the East Coast. I feel there is sort of a vibe there that is sort of the same from north to bottom. But then when you go West Coast, it's completely different, and people are working differently. They're not even on the same time zone, so it's very complicated to work with each other. And then when you go south, you go to Texas or states that I never heard about before, like Alabama, and each time I'm like, I need to place that on a map. And it's sort of, I feel there is a south and there is a middle. So there is like east, west, middle, and south, sort of. But I feel a lot of regional, like culture, like subculture in the United States.
Yeah, I've spent most of my life living in Boston, and have spent the last 10 years in the Pacific Northwest near Seattle. I find Seattle and Boston have a lot more in common than you might think. Certainly more than, today I happen to be recording from Los Angeles. Seattle and Los Angeles to me seem like they're on completely different planets.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I went to Las Vegas. Wow. I was like, this is a different world. I'm in another country. I'm not in the United States anymore.
Oh, well, you've got different countries, different planets. Las Vegas is its own universe. You talked a bit about UX marketing at Microsoft. There's a group called GDC, the Global Demand Center, and they publish standards for how you do in-product marketing. When is it okay to pop up a balloon saying, did you know there's an event next week? Or did you know there's a better way to try something with Copilot? What I think of as UX marketing is a little bit different from how you explained it to me. Could you walk us through your definition of UX marketing?
Yes. So I think it's close what you talk about, but it's before the product. So it's basically the user journey, the user experience before you actually become a customer. Because when you are in product, you are very focused on your current customers, the one who actually sign up. But there are a lot of people, like actually most of the people are out of that. So most of the people didn't sign up yet. And when I'm talking about UX is what is the journey? What are the touch points of these people who don't know you yet, and how they're going to get to know you to finally sign up and become a customers? And how do you interact with them? And how do you make their journey great? Because that's the thing with marketing is like people are not, if you don't think big picture, you don't try to make the full journey interesting, then people will start to give up, and then it's getting random.
Yeah, I really like that. It's here at Synozur. We've been spending a little bit of time doing analysis of what we call BX, brand experience, which is kind of that totality. And I love tapping journeys onto it. You have clients that you've taken on your own journey, and I want to ask you about those in a second. But you described one of the sectors you focus on as being military real estate, which to me sounds like something that you get with tanks and guns, but it's something different for you. What's military real estate all about?
Sure. So I work for a company called Must and what we do is we help people PCSing, which is permanent change of station, because in the United States, the military have to move, they receive orders, and they have to move. So I don't exactly the timeline, it certainly depends, but it's very often. They can move like every 2 years. So in a career, they can ended up moving like 19 times. So each time they are moving houses. So what we do at Must is we help them during the process. how do you find a new home? How do you get integrated to a new community? Because moving every 2 years for you and for your family, the kids, it's a lot of pressure. So we try to relieve part of this pressure.
I think that's wonderful. Our CEO spent a number of years in the military, and I know she's been fortunate every time she had assistance on those relocations back earlier in her career. Let's talk about journeys a little more. For your clients, take us on the journey that your clients go through, kind of when you first get acquainted with them to what their end results start to look like.
Yes, so most of the time, I think people get acquainted with me without me like directly talking to them. I think there are a lot of parts that happen online, and it's true for every company. First, they may see you a LinkedIn post, they may see a podcast, they may see a blog article, something that you created, but it's not like you as a person. And then they're gonna get to know you through this content. So that's what my clients most of the time do. Then they will start to have sort of small interaction with me. Maybe they're going to send an email. Maybe they're going to schedule a small meeting, like just 30 minutes meetings. And we're going to have just this first small interaction. And then if there is a match, and it's often a personality match, actually, then we
Mm-hmm.
start talking business. And then we move toward, okay, what do you need? What can I provide? And then we have a second meeting that is a more intense meeting where we really build a proposal together. And then I write the proposal from what we built and then decide. So it's really the process I'm doing right now.
So you've worked across a pretty broad range of industries. When you reflect on it, what are some of the results? If you could take us through a tip, one of your favorite client results. I love making the customer and the client the hero. So who's one of yours?
Yes, so actually it's a referral I got last year. It was a year ago. I got a referral for a new clinic in Richmond, Virginia, a lung clinic. So it was doctors. They had a website sort of half done, and they were like, okay, we want to open our clinic in June 11th. We have no marketing. You're in charge of everything. So it's been a year and we have done so much for them. It's amazing. I'm really, really glad of the success we had because it was a new clinic. So healthcare, getting patient in, meaning building trust, like getting in an area where there is already a lung clinic. So how do we like sort of fight these competitors? That is a really big one here for years and years and years. How do we bring new people? It was also very challenging because it's a lung clinic, so our persona is like above 50. That means yes, we are on social media, but how do we interact on social media with people that are like this kind of older generation? We won't be interacting like the new generation on social media. So it was a real challenge. And today so it's been a year. We are everywhere on Google. We are everywhere on social media. They got a lot of interaction. And the last time I talked to them, and I will have another meeting with them soon for a review, they're going to open like an extension in Northern Virginia. So I think it's
That's
going really well.
that's really impressive. That's obviously a sector that has more than a little bit of regulation about what you can say and how you can say it.
Yes.
That's tremendous. Another area I know that we have in common is a little bit of a focus on luxury brands.
Yes.
So, what are some of the things that you've learned from working with luxury brands about how their market works and what their user experience needs to be?
Yes, it's actually funny because I got a luxury brand like a month ago, a month and a half ago, and we are starting really building from nothing again. And for example, we're gonna post on social media, but you don't post the same way for a luxury brand that for another type of brand because when you are in the luxe kind of uh, mindset, people are extremely picky. People are extremely demanding. They are paying a lot of money. So in return, they want a lot. So we have to be highly personalized and we have to create a vibe. Like our social media, instead of just sharing our product, we are planning on more creating like an experience, a vibe, a mood board when people feel like connected to the brand and then they will buy the product. But the products become secondary and the brand itself become more important in the full marketing that we do.
Yeah, it is. The brand in those cases, I think, does become the product. And you're so right. The importance of consistency, because you only have a few touch points, and they all have to be
Yes.
like at the same level. You know, uh, growing up outside of the States, you may not remember Sesame Street, but there was a little game they would do. One of these things is not like the other. And occasionally, when I see luxury brand work, you will see a beautiful beach and some glamorous event. And then occasionally there's people in a truck stop or in the subway. And that doesn't seem to fit the rest of that
Yeah.
journey. One thing I also found your take to be really refreshing is the importance of persona mapping. And that's
Yes.
something I think you've got some great expertise with. Talk to us a little bit about how you use persona mapping to craft that particular user experience.
Yes, so actually persona mapping is one of the first steps I take when I get a new client. I know everybody wants to start right away. I know everyone wants to post, tomorrow on Facebook, but I always stop my client and I say, okay, we need first a strategy. We need to know who we are talking to because yes, you want to share on Facebook, but Facebook is maybe not the right place. Maybe your persona is not even there. So what I'm doing is first we do the brand overview, who you are, and then we are creating personas, who you are talking to, who you are trying to connect with. And then we try to, for each persona, we define of course, their challenge, what they are looking for, but also where they are, what is their habits, what is their lifestyle, what are they going to do during their day, and how we can connect with the brand in their lifetimes, because that's how you really connect.
So you said an interesting term there, which is strategy. And so I'm going to put you on the
Yes.
spot a little bit. We in our firm focus a lot on strategy. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a professor from George Mason on talking about business strategy. And he really says a couple of things: that strategy is first forward looking, and two, it's about choices. It's not about just big important things, but it's about sometimes either or. As you
Yes.
learn about strategy, it forces you to make choices about which journeys matter and which don't, because you can't do everything. How do you help
Yes.
your clients frame up and make the decisions about which parts of those journeys are more important than others?
That's a really important thing. So I think for marketing, you're 100% right. It's really a field where you cannot be everywhere. It's impossible. You're going to use all your energy and all your time. For example, you cannot be on every single social media. You have to select like 3 channels or 4 channels. So what I'm helping my clients is I have two type of clients. I have clients who don't want to be anywhere and clients who wants to be everywhere. So we need to find a middle. We need to say, okay, where are you, where is your persona? And this is where we're going to do. So basically, all my choices and strategy are sort of data driven. It's harder when it's a very brand new client who have, just creating the company from nothing because you don't have data. So you need to sort of um, try to imagine it, which is a little harder. But then for these specific clients that are brand new with no data, we come back to that really quickly. Like 30 days after, we're like, okay, it's just been 30 days. What happened? Because I don't want to have a strategy for like a year based on something that you imagine. If I do long term strategy, I base my strategy on really like solid data. We know what's going on. I don't know if it makes sense. It's a
No,
little bit difficult to explain, but
no, it totally does. I was just thinking about, you know, there's some overlap, obviously, between the business to business world and the consumer worlds of marketing.
yeah.
Um, and certainly within business marketing, there's a lot more ABM, account-based marketing, that sort of leverages content marketing. Um, I'm not going to ask you, is content marketing important? That's sort of an obvious question, but how do how do you get your clients? I've found many clients to be reluctant content marketers. How do you get them over that hump?
Yeah, it's really difficult sometimes because I don't know why some people that say that content marketing is dead, and I was just like, how can you even say that?
Yeah.
This is a whole thing right now. I think it's because they don't use content the right way. And building contents to build contents means nothing. Like for example, I see my clients, especially before I came working with them, they share on social media and they tell me it doesn't work. but they never share with an actual like topic, with an actual focus. They just share random things when they have an idea pop up in their brain, like you're gonna do for your personal social media. But it cannot work for an actual like brand. For a brand, you have to have a topic, and then you have to follow this topic. You have to make people wait for your content because they know it's going to come this certain way, and that's what they used to. So I think content marketing works really well when you put it with a purpose. Like it's not just content; it's content with a purpose and a CTA, goal.
Right. I've often recommended when we work in go-to-market strategies that also you pick certain themes. If you have 6 rates in the market, I'm not saying be silent on 5 of them, but each quarter pick one so you get more of a concentration around it, so that there's like a consistent message going on with that. Hang on.
Yeah, well, it's actually very important to to make some choices, because I always heard, especially go to market. Yes, people always say I can sell it to everybody. I'm just like, yeah, maybe, but we need to select like different ICPs, different persona we're going to send this product to, and focus on these 2 or 3. Even if you can send it to everyone, we want truly to have a focus and a niche, so it makes sense.
So Jenny, here in Polaris, we cover the intersection of business and technology. And so for the technology side of our audience, you just use an acronym ICP they may not be familiar with. Could you explain what an ICP is?
Yes, so an ICP is an ideal customer profile. It's a little bit different from the persona, because an ICP is really ideal, whereas a persona is someone you invent in the ICP. So a persona can actually have a fake name and a fake picture, whereas an ICP is more like broad.
Right.
Broader.
It's interesting. On that journey, I find myself sometimes counseling our clients to think about, their buyer persona, and that the distinction between a value executor and a value recipient. And this certainly comes up a lot in B2B, because the person who's paying for it may hand something over to someone who uses it, and the beneficiaries could be a third audience. How do you think about those classes? Do you focus on buyer? Do you focus on recipient, or none of the above?
Well, it depends the clients. Most of the time we focus on the buyer first, because when they come to me, they want to sell. So it makes more sense to focus on the decision makers. But of course, there are other people involved, and especially in B2B, when there are multiple people making decisions, you cannot just focus on the CEO, for example, if it involves that the CEO will talk to someone else in the company to actually sign the contract. So you're right. It's really important to define what are the personas, and maybe we're going to focus more on one of them, but remembering that the others are in the background, maybe, just having an opinion about it.
Right. Well, Ginny, I think there's obviously a lot we could continue to unpack across the world of marketing, but there's a world beyond just business and marketing. So I love to ask our guests to talk about something from the worlds of pop culture or high culture that you've been paying attention to lately that may have had an impact on you, or that you just would like to recommend.
Well, actually, so I'm a series person. I love looking at shows. And sometimes I look at new shows, and sometimes I go back to shows that are really popular, and I don't know, I just want to watch them again. So right now I'm watching again Supernatural. There are 15 seasons, and I think it's really funny because it's something that started like so long ago now, because there are 15 seasons. So I think it was 2005, and the first season they are with their flip phone. So I actually love watching this old series, because you see within the series the evolution of technology, and you see that they start with their flip phone taking bad pictures, and then in the last season, that's 2020, they are actually using the latest technology. So I love watching. It's funny because it's not related to the series, but it's part of it, and you cannot avoid it when you actually make a movie. So that's really what I like, and it's a fun series too. So
it's a totally fun show.
It's really a good one.
My son was just talking to me yesterday about Black Mirror, which is the other side of technologies that may not totally exist yet, or obviously the dark side of all that. Well, Ginny, it's been great having you here in Polaris. What's next for you, and how can our audience stay in touch?
Sure. So you can stay in touch with me with going to my website, vdsdigitalagency.com. I advise to register for my newsletter. I don't do a lot of it, but it's great to get to know what's happening in the UX marketing world. I'm trying to write articles, and right now what I'm really focusing on is how I'm creating tools for people to apply, UX marketing, because user experience marketing is a really beautiful word, but how do you apply it in real world? So I'm building tools with the help of AI, and it will be helpful for people to build their own social media post, but also with the, humanize them. We still use AI, but we put a little bit of human touch in it, and we sort of mix things together to get a good result.
We'll have that in the show notes, the link there. I'll just encourage the audience to check that out. Thanks so much for being on Polaris. Please stay in touch, and we hope we can have you on again soon.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back. Up next on Polaris Events. We're about halfway through 2025, but there seem to be more events than ever coming up. Here's what we're watching. M365 Community Days, New York City. This will be July 25th at Microsoft New York in Times Square. Seattle Tech Week, starting July 28th, over 70 events in and around the Emerald City here in the Pacific Northwest, home of Synozur and many other technology companies. TechCon 365 Atlanta will be kicking off August 11th at the Georgia World Congress Center, and we will have Stephen Rose and Michelle Boyd from our team speaking at the event. FY26 Forward, Microsoft Partner Success Strategies. On August 26th, I'll be sitting down online with our CEO, Michelle Caldwell, for a fireside chat about Microsoft's new fiscal year and how partners can best align for success. North American Collaboration Summit kicks off September 7th in Branson, Missouri. TribalNet kicks off September 14th in Reno, Nevada. Vancouver AI Summit is coming up October 20th at the Harbor Center in Vancouver, British Columbia. Wrapping up the year, we're looking ahead to TechCon 365 in Dallas and Microsoft Ignite this November in San Francisco, as well as ESPC 25 this December in Dublin, Ireland. We'll have more details later in the year. We'll have links to all of that and more in the show notes. You can learn more at Synozur.com/events, and we'll add more events throughout the year. And if you have an upcoming event you'd like us to promote on Polaris, please get in touch and we'd be happy to include it. Well, that's a wrap for another episode. I'd like to thank our guest, Ginny DeLaitre, for joining us and sharing her thoughts on modern marketing. We encourage you to check out our show page for links to everything we talked about today and more. Visit us at polaris.synozur.com. Send us your questions and feedback for the Synozur team. You can reach us via email at polaris@synozur.com. Remember to subscribe, rate, review, and tell all your friends about the show. And follow us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Polaris is produced with help from Riverside.fm. Our theme song, Alternative Dream, is provided courtesy of Adobe. Additional music and sound provided by Indie Guy Records. Graphic design by Josh Brantley. Thanks for listening. I'm Chris McNulty, and this has been Polaris, a show that charts the course for business and technology transformation from Synozur. Learn more at Synozur.com. See you next time. Keep following your North Star.